Have you heard about Dorchester Heights? It's an amazing tale of how the American rebel army fortified a hill in one night, leaving the British flabbergasted and changing the tide of the Revolutionary War. Let's dive right into the story. In the heart of the Revolutionary War there was General George Washington. Now, Washington was known for his strategic brilliance, but this time, he had a plan that was borderline audacious. He turned to a fellow by the name of Henry Knox and said, "Henry, I need you to transport the cannons from Fort Ticonderoga. And oh, by the way, they weigh about 60 tons in total." Picture the scene. Knox, probably choking on his tobacco, might have stammered, "You want us to do what now?" Of course, that's pure speculation, but can you imagine the look on his face? It's like asking someone to move a mountain with a teaspoon. Yet, the order was clear. The cannons from Fort Ticonderoga had to be transported. A seemingly impossible task considering the distance of 300 miles, the weight of the cannons, and the harsh winter conditions. But this was the American Revolutionary War, and impossible was not in their vocabulary. Perhaps some of the soldiers thought their general had finally lost his marbles. One might have quipped, "Next he'll be asking us to fly." But this was not a time for doubts or second-guessing. This was a time for action. They had a hill to secure, and they were darn well going to do it. The soldiers, with a sigh and probably a few muttered curses, set to their task. They had to move these monstrous war machines over frozen ground, through dense forests, across rivers. It was a Herculean task, one that would test their mettle to its very core. You can almost hear their grunts of exertion, their shouts of encouragement, their sighs of exhaustion. But through it all there was a sense of determination, a sense of purpose. They were fighting for their freedom, and they were not about to let a few heavy cannons stand in their way. So, with a hefty order on their shoulders, the soldiers set about to accomplish the impossible. They set out on their way on November 17, 1775, and returned with the cannons around January 25, 1776. Now with the cannons in Boston, further preparations and planning took place. In order to distract the British from what was about to take place, some of the heavy cannons were placed on Lechmere's Point and Cobble Hill in Cambridge. On the nights of March 2nd and 3rd, these batteries opened fire on the town. The British returned fire without any significant damage on either side. As night fell on March 4, 1776, the impossible began to take shape. Cannon fire again distracted the British as it had the two nights before. Then, in the darkness of the cold winter night, the rebel army, under the command of none other than General George Washington, set out to accomplish a feat of Herculean proportions. Their mission? To fortify the towering hill of Dorchester Heights. And they had just one night to do it. Now, imagine the scene. Hundreds of soldiers, bustling about in the pitch black, guided only by the faint glow of lanterns. The sound of shovels biting into the frozen earth quietly echoed through the night, punctuated by the occasional grumble of a soldier. One particular soldier, a lanky lad named Ezekiel, tripped over a rock hidden in the shadows. His exclamation cut through the night air, "Who put that rock there?" drawing chuckles from his comrades. The soldiers worked tirelessly, cannon after cannon with their wheels wrapped in straw to deaden the sound of them rolling on the rocky terrain, were hauled up the steep slopes. The grunts and groans of the men laboring under the weight whispered in the still night air. As the hours ticked by, the silhouette of the hill began to change. The cannons were being strategically positioned, trenches were being dug, and barricades were being built. It was a ballet of organized chaos, a symphony of determination and grit. And then, as the first rays of dawn began to pierce the night, the impossible became possible. Exhausted but triumphant, the men stepped back to admire their work. Dorchester Heights, once a mere hill, now stood as a fortified stronghold, bristling with cannons that glinted menacingly in the morning sun. And as the sun rose, the impossible had been achieved. Dorchester Heights was fortified. Imagine being a British soldier, waking up to find a hill fortified overnight. Talk about a rude awakening. That's exactly what happened on the morning of March 5, 1776. The British, distracted by the diversionary cannon fire, had no idea the rebel army had been working through the night fortifying the hill. The first light of dawn revealed a shocking sight. The hill of Dorchester Heights, once a mere bump in the landscape, was now a formidable fortress bristling with cannons. Picture the astonishment of the British officers. Major General William Howe, known for his cool composure, was said to have nearly choked on his breakfast biscuit. It is reported that he said, "My God, these fellows have done more work in one night than I can make my army do in 3 months." His aide, a young lieutenant, was so startled that he spilled his morning tea all over his crisp, white uniform, exclaiming, "By the Queen's corgis, where did that come from?" Even the seasoned British soldiers, who had seen their fair share of surprises, couldn't help but gape at the sight. One redcoat, a grizzled veteran of many a campaign, was heard to mutter, "Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. Those colonials have got some pluck." His comrade, a fresh-faced recruit, simply stood there, his mouth hanging open in disbelief. Now let's not forget about the civilians. The local barkeep, a stout fellow known for his colorful language, reportedly exclaimed, "Blimey, those Yanks have done it now. Wouldn't want to be in the redcoats' shoes, no sir." The town's gossip, a lady of a certain age, was seen running down the street, her bonnet askew, shouting, "Did you see? Did you see? The hill! It's covered in cannons!" Amidst all the confusion, the British command had a serious problem on their hands. They had been outmaneuvered, outsmarted, and outgunned. The rebel army had pulled off an audacious move, fortifying the hill in just one night. The British were now in a precarious position. If they attacked, they risked heavy casualties. If they did nothing, they would appear weak. It was a classic military conundrum. The British command huddled for an urgent meeting. There was a lot of head-scratching, a lot of pacing, and a lot of heated discussions. One officer was heard to say, "We've got to do something and fast. Those rebels aren't going to wait for us to finish our tea." So the British, flabbergasted and outmaneuvered, had to figure out their next move. They were facing a formidable foe, a fortified hill, and a very unpleasant wake-up call. But as they say, that's war for you. One moment you're enjoying a good night's sleep, the next you're staring at a hill bristling with cannons. As we all know, the British aren't known for backing down without a fight. But on this particular morning, as they looked up at the rebel army, fortified atop Dorchester Heights, they might have wished they'd stayed in bed. You see, the redcoats were nothing if not proud. But pride is a funny thing. It can make you charge headfirst into battle, or it can make you second-guess your morning decisions. And as the bullets started flying and the cannons roared, you could almost hear the whispered regrets on the wind. One soldier, hunkered down behind a makeshift barrier, might have turned to his mate and said, "I didn't sign up for this, mate. I was promised a nice quiet post in the colonies, not a full-scale rebellion." And his friend, equally terrified, might have replied, "I told you we should have stayed in bed today." As the battle raged on, it became clear that the British were outmatched. The rebels had the high ground, the element of surprise, and a determination that was as fierce as it was unexpected. You can almost picture the British commander peering up at the hill with a look of disbelief on his face. "This isn't cricket," he might have muttered under his breath. This is just not cricket." And then, the unthinkable happened. The British began to retreat. Some say it was the relentless rebel fire. Others suggest it was the sight of their comrades falling. But the most popular theory? They missed their afternoon tea. Yes, the British, those stalwarts of stoicism and stiff upper lips, turned tail and ran. They packed up their dignity, their pride, and their crumpets, and they left Dorchester Heights in the hands of the rebel army. And so the British, with their tails between their legs, retreated, leaving the hill and the victory to the rebel army. All in a night's work, right? So, what happens after you pull off an impossible feat? Well, you get bragging rights for one, and a tremendous boost in morale. Not to mention you've just made history. The fortification of Dorchester Heights was not just a strategic marvel, but also a pivotal moment that shifted the tides of the Revolutionary War. The British, once the dominant force, found themselves on the back foot, scratching their heads and questioning what just happened. "Wasn't that just a hill yesterday?" they'd ask, aghast at the audacity of the rebel army. Meanwhile, the rebel army, now the heroes of the hour, had a spring in their step and a twinkle in their eyes. The taste of victory was sweet, but the taste of a victory pulled off overnight? That was the stuff of legends. And there you have it, folks, the tale of how a hill was fortified in one night. Next time you think something's impossible, just remember Dorchester Heights. Even today, the echoes of Dorchester Heights reverberate through the annals of history, serving as a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of strategic planning, courage, and unity. It is a tale that has been passed down through generations, inspiring countless others to challenge the status quo, to dare to dream and to take bold actions. Yet it also serves as a reminder that the impossible can be made possible, that the underdogs can triumph over the mighty, and that a seemingly insignificant hill can change the course of history. So the next time you find yourself faced with an insurmountable challenge, remember Dorchester Heights. Remember that with the right strategy, determination, and unity, you can turn the tides in your favor, and who knows, maybe you can make history too. But that's a story for another time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more amazing stories. See you in the next video.